It's starting to look a lot like Christmas, 'cause it's only a couple of days away. G'day, hi, and welcome. All right, let's just listen. The only thing that makes noise in the bush in wintertime, oak leaves. Dead quiet. You can hear a vehicle over there. You can hear a vehicle over there, the oak leaves, and my big loud blabbery mouth going. That's the only thing you hear in the wintertime. Just me blubbering away like Foghorn Leghorn, you know what I mean? Boy, I say, I'm just tramping the snow, I tell you. Got some tracks there. Some deer tracks. I haven't seen any wolf or coyote dominant tracks, but they are here. There was a couple, so. Like now, the wolves are going to move around with the deer a little more precisely because of the fact that the deer, they get kind of binded in on their trails where they don't go out in the fields as much because it tires them out too much. And what the wolves and coyotes do typically is they just run the deer to exhaustion. You know, that's how they catch them. So they might run them down for like a week. There's a deer track there. It's probably the same deer just walking in circles. So you can make it look like there's a whole bunch of deer, but it's really one. You know, but our deer population has taken a beating the last past decade or so due to, you know, really high snow. 2003, 2004, I quote this all the time. I was talking to a game warden, and he was like, yeah, 2003, 2004 was a ridiculous year of snow. There was about 6.5 feet of snow coming through here. Like it was unbelievable how thick it was. It took me a lot to get back here, and that wiped out 30 to 40% of Quebec's deer population. That's how hard of a winter it was. And the wolves boomed on that because the deer were just basically stuck on the trail. You'd get wolves at each end of the trail, and they just ran the deer to death, right? Until they ended up probably finishing off, you know, that 30 to 40% of the deer. Like that's what the deer died of. Like they maybe a couple of percentage die of starvation, but the most of them died from just being slaughtered by the wolves, which created a massive wolf boom for about a decade. And we're still, like when I was a kid, there was always wolves here. There was a coyote was like almost like unheard of when I was a kid. It's like anytime you'd hear a coyote, you might hear them like once a decade. Now they're a weird thing. It's what they call a red wolf or a coy wolf, same thing. They're basically a half breed of wolves and coyotes, and those are the worst because they got this. They're much bigger than a normal coyote and much more strength, and they got the boldness of the coyote. So it's the worst. It's the worst combination to make the most awesome predator. So they're not as powerful as wolves, but they're like a small wolf. And what they do is they can't quite take down a deer, but they nip them. They just bite them up, and then they wait till the deer gets so weak. Then they normally kill the fawns and stuff like that. See, like that tree there, putting a snare right in the middle of that one would be good. But I don't want to be this close to the town. So, I mean, I'm still like a mile back, but again, I'm overcautious, right? So, but that's the ideal tree to put a snare on. You know, if I can get a nice little trail going, just walk right up to it, right over. Throw some bait on the trail, maybe a fox will run through. Throw some on one side of the trail, one on the other side of the trail. But what's going to happen is I'm going to be walking on top of this tree in about a couple of weeks anyway, after a few short runs with the snow. And yeah, but anyway, as I was saying, the coyote hybrid coy wolf things have taken over, and they're actually breeding out the wolves. And they're like breeding out the coyotes, and they're like the new predator. Like they're a new predator, and they're even out during the daytime. Like I've seen 2 or 3 of them this year in the middle of the day. Wolves you never see in the middle of the day. Now I can imagine like any predator, they're mostly active at night, but I've seen them in the day, guys. Like that's crazy. Like you can actually go hunting at noon for them. which is kind of cool when you think about it. You know, you could do something in the morning and you don't have to get up at 5 o'clock, you know. I tend to be more of an evening hunter than a morning hunter, but that's just me. You know, like, I don't take it so seriously that I have to be out there at 5 o'clock in the morning, you know. Mind you, this time of year, you don't see anything till about 9 o'clock in the morning anyway. It's still pretty dark, so. This is the second shortest day of the year. Now, tons of wolves come off there. That's the Hardwood Hill there. But I don't trap up there because it's like, getting up there, number one, in the wintertime is like, good luck with that. But I do want to stomp it open with my snowshoes and keep it going. Yeah. See, I used to trap from here back, but I used to catch foxes here like crazy because there's a whole bunch of foxes around this area. But I always found it was too close, and I always thought, well, you know, I'm not the only one that uses this land. Like, it's family land, right? And, you know, sometimes people, you know, relatives, they bring up other cousins and stuff like that, and they want to take their pets with them. So I tell them, you know, okay, you can use all this, and I'll just use that little bit on the back end. And this, you know, more keeps everybody happy too, right? So, but yeah, I've caught quite a bit of animals right here over the years. You know, and the first bear I ever saw in my lifetime came out right here. Yeah, that was a very exciting time. I was a pretty young lad. Yeah. And yeah, pretty exciting. Yeah. So anyway, I'm just heading back now at a much slower pace than it was the other day. Like, it'll take a while. The worst thing about this is that like, you see how I'm just sliding around there, is that it's not level ground ever, you know. So what happens is you really get sore doing this. Like, I'm doing this the old-fashioned way, right? There's some little squirrelzillas going by, and bunny squatches. I don't see any bunny squatches. Sometimes you'll see the odd one out during the day there. So, yeah. So it's very fatiguing on the body to do this. Now you say, well, get a snowmobile. Problem is, I'm out of work, guys. You know, like, I don't have any spare money for stuff like that. I wish I did, but then, you know, I'm not going to catch enough fur on my land to justify running a snowmobile every day anyway. And it is kind of good exercise, so you just got to pace yourself with it. So I'm doing it the old-fashioned way, on the cheap, right? Some more deer track there. So I'll find out what the cycle of the wolves and coyotes are. You typically go every couple of weeks. You'll see them pass through. So anyway, I'll just